in color. The continuing story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Ryan O'Neal as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington, Patricia Morrow as Rita Harrington, James Douglas as Stephen Cord.
At this time of night, Jill Smith has been in the habit of paying special attention to the baby she brought to town. The baby is now with the Elliot Carsons, and Jill Smith is alone.
You open for business?
What do you need?
Some coffee.
You know, I made a deal with a grocery store, Jill. I don't sell groceries, and they don't fix flats.
Well, the store's closed.
So am I.
Going out?
Thought I might, yeah.
Well, I guess if I lived in a mess like this, I'd go out as much as possible, too.
With my compliments, no charge. Just good night.
You need a maid or a demolition squad.
You need anything else? Milk, eggs, how about a couple of steaks?
Well, doesn't this mess cramp your style? I mean, how can you bring a lady friend home for a drink or a pick-me-up or whatever you bring her home for?
I put that in the bag for you, except fresh out.
I'll make you a deal. Jill Smith's maid service. I'll come in once a week and clean up for you. $1.25 an hour. That's the minimum wage, isn't it?
I wouldn't know.
Well, I'll check it tomorrow. That is if I'm hired.
You're not.
Well, that makes this my lucky day. Mrs. Carson didn't hire me either. Jill Smith babysitting service.
You miss her, don't you?
Miss her?
Kelly.
How much do I owe you?
A little honesty.
Sorry. All I have is $1.
It's a little harder than you thought, wasn't it?
Slow down, Mr. Harrington. All I offered was maid service.
Jill Smith comes riding out of the night with Allison Mackenzie's child. My child. Turns her over to her grandparents and then disappears again like the phantom mailman.
Keep the change.
But you can't just disappear, can you? Because that child means more to you than just a registered package. So you wander around and you try to fill the gap. But you won't find it scrubbing floors or washing windows.
They wouldn't even let me see her. Dr. Rossi told me, he ordered me not to see her ever again.
Why should that bother you?
Because we belonged together. We had some rough times, but at least Kelly was with me, and I was with Kelly. Whenever she was hungry or sick or frightened, and she'd want me to hold her. Well, she won't know about that. She'll forget. She'll forget all about me.
You should have kept her.
I couldn't.
Jill. Is that your name, Jill Smith? Who are you? What are you to Kelly? To the rest of us?
I'm just an errand girl who finished her errand.
Would you tell Mr. Cord that Mrs. Winter is here for the children's wing?
Will you come in, please? Thank you.
Mrs. Winter?
Mr. Cord, how nice of you to see me.
Well, how could I refuse when you come in the name of sweet charity?
Thank you. So, this is the old Peyton home. How can you stand living here all alone? It's like being a curator in a museum. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cord, but you do seem a bit out of place. No, I only met Mr. Peyton once. Was he really as unapproachable as everyone said? What's this?
A sum of $50 payable to the hospital building committee.
You're not going to get off that easily.
Well, I'm a practicing lawyer, not a retired millionaire.
Mr. Cord, I did not come here for money. I came to ask a favor.
What kind of favor?
Well, I had a brainstorm at our last ladies' auxiliary meeting. A marvelous way to raise money for the new children's wing.
Oh?
My idea was quite a success, especially with the members who have marriageable daughters.
Oh, what are you planning? To raffle me off to the highest bidder?
That's a thought.
I'm hardly an eligible bachelor.
Well, you will be soon as your divorce is final.
Well, I try to stay out of the social swim.
I'm aware of that. I rarely see you at the club, and when I do, you're usually alone. We've been introduced.
On at least 2 occasions.
I'm surprised you remember. I don't think you said a dozen words either time. I've decided you're a very difficult man to get to know.
Would I ruin my image if I offered you a drink?
Fair enough.
Martini?
Whatever you're drinking.
Twist of lemon?
Fine.
Well, here's to sweet Charity.
Oh, poor Dorcas. I'm afraid she hasn't a chance.
Dorcas?
Dorcas Bartlett, the lady bank teller with the sweet smile and the thick ankles. Her mama claims you always go directly to her window.
It's the one nearest the door. Look, you said you wanted to ask me a favor, but you still haven't said what it is.
The loan of your house, kind sir.
For what?
For a benefit luncheon and grand tour. $7.50 a head. We'll leave the arithmetic up to Dorcas, but it should add up to a tidy sum for the new children's wing. If you'll say yes.
Well, who would be hostess?
I suppose I would have to be.
Or ask for a volunteer.
Anyway, if we don't hold the luncheon, I'm going to call on your help in case the Founders Festival's rained out. We could pitch a large tent on your grounds. It would save the day.
What would we do with the elephants?
The garage.
Care for a refill?
Thank you for the drink. Thank you for your hospitality, but I really must be running on.
Well, you're welcome, Mrs. Winter.
You know, this really isn't a house for a bachelor. If you're ever interested in selling it, please give me a call.
Well, I'm afraid your husband would find the price a little steep for a minister's pocket.
A little. He'd find it prohibitive. But my father wouldn't. Good night. Shouldn't have. You really shouldn't have. Where have I been? Well, I've been out knocking on doors in the name of sweet charity for the new children's wing of the hospital. I'd hoped my efforts would win me some approval. Connie Carson said you should be very proud of me. No. You are wondering how much she has to drink.
Susan.
Now, Tom, when you call on people during the cocktail hour, they do expect you to join them. You don't want people to think that the minister's wife has a drinking problem, do you? I'm going to fix dinner. I thought I'd sneak one in the kitchen, but then again, I thought maybe you'd like to join me. Tom, when you counsel a family who has a member who's an alcoholic, remember, always drink along with your drunk. Because it's better than letting a drunk drink alone.
Susan, You are not an alcoholic.
I'm well on my way, and we both know it. I know why. All aboard? You finish. Tom, why don't we call the whole thing off?
Because divorce isn't the answer.
Sometimes it is.
Only when a marriage is beyond saving.
But ours isn't. It would take a miracle to save our marriage. You better stop praying.
I have.
Are you getting any answers? Oh, I'm sorry, Reverend Winter, but we are unable to reach your party because that number has been permanently disconnected.
God isn't dead, Susan.
I mean, you show him to me. Show me that he really cares. Do you really believe that God called you to the ministry?
Now, you know I do.
No, that's just an excuse for your ego, because you want to be loved and adored. Couldn't be a businessman, no. You had to be a shepherd of the soul.
I was never cut out for the business world.
You majored in business administration. Never got less than a B in any subject.
I told you, I was never happy with the choice.
I know. You felt your life should have more of a purpose. Couldn't degrade yourself by working for my father.
I never said it would degrade me. I just felt that I, personally, would be wasted.
Has my father's life been wasted? I mean, can you honestly say that all he's done is earn money all his life? He's been active in political and civic affairs. He's been on the board of charities. You tell me who has done more for others, you or my father. That is something to think about.
I think about it.
I mean, people listen to my father because they respect his accomplishments. What are your credentials? A wrecked marriage? A wife who gets smashed in a motel room? I mean, what right do you have to tell people what to do with their lives? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, Susan, I love you, you little nut.
And I love you, I really do. But it's just not enough. You know, the day I went to New York, I really felt I was in my own world again. I really did, Tom. I was happy. I didn't have any desire for a drink. Except when I got back on the train to come home. By the time I got to White River, well, I was half crocked, but I knew better. I really was clear-headed, not to show the people.
Don't tell me anymore, huh?
And just pretend that it never happened, right? Now, Tom, I bought a bottle, and I went to a crummy motel, and I drank until I passed out.
Oh, Susan. How can you do that to yourself, huh?
Well, it's an escape. For the time being. You won't give up the ministry?
No. If I did, if I made myself over in your father's successful image, it wouldn't be the magic answer you seem to think it would be.
But you'd have more time for me. I mean, there'd be more of a place for me in your life. Baby, I just can't go on like this. I feel like the wife in a love triangle. Except there's no other woman. There's just God. How do I compete with God?